Yesterday, William Barr was before the Senate. Today, he was supposed to be before the House, and he decided that he wasn't going to do that. And I would probably get used to a lot more of that type of relationship between the White House and the legislative branch. So we didn't have him, and that might be a problem for William Barr, according to Jerry Nadler. And also, Nancy Pelosi had some pretty harsh words for him.
What is deadly serious about it is the Attorney General of the United States of America was not telling the truth to the Congress of the United States. That's a crime. He lied to Congress. He lied to Congress. If anybody else did that, it would be considered a crime. Nobody is above the law, not the President of the United States and not the Attorney General.
Should he go to jail? True. Should he go to jail for it?
There's a process involved here, and as I said, I'll say it again, and how many other questions you may have, the committee will act upon how we will proceed.
Okay, so that started off kind of strong. And then once the actual consequences were brought up, then it kind of fizzled out a little bit. But they are frustrated with him for both what he said in the first day and him not showing up for the second.
So I'll give credit in the beginning, criticize in the middle, and credit at the end. Okay, so first of all, Nancy Pelosi talking about somebody in the Trump administration committing a crime. Now, it's kind of obvious, but she usually doesn't do it, so great. Super happy to hear it. And like John said, started out pretty strong, so that was surprising. She doesn't usually proceed from strength. So now the critique of this. So look, I think Pelosi has some Washington assumptions built in, which is, I mean, we're not really gonna do anything about the elite. That's why she frames it as like, I mean, a regular person would, would have consequences. It is a crime, and so there would be consequences if you lied to Congress. She says that like it's kind of a wow, like if you ever think about it. Yeah, we think about that all the time. We think a lot of you guys are above the law, and it's maddening. And so, but then when they press her on it, she can't help but protect the elite, and she's like, "There's a process. We got to follow a process. I mean, am I going to put somebody in the club in jail? No, we're all in the club, right? I mean, but and it reminds me of an old Bill Murray skit that none of you will remember from Saturday Night Live, where he's pretending to be a strong guy, maybe a caveman. I don't even quite remember exactly right, but he's like, and they say, okay, can you lift that rock? And he's like, that rock is too big. I can lift a smaller rock. And that is what Pelosi's doing. Trump is too big. I can lift that smaller rock. I'm not gonna impeach Trump because of politics, etc. But hey, William Barr, maybe that's something that we can handle that one. That's a small rock I might be able to lift. So it's kind of a proxy war in a sense. But again, I'm happy to see it. Happy to see it, happy to see her coming in this direction.
Yeah, I mean, every candidate running on the Democratic side has called for Barr to resign, but Barr is somebody who has been deeply entrenched in the establishment. He's from the swamp. He is a swampite with all of them. And I think people don't realize how deeply he's been a part of this whole machine. He's going back to the 1980s. And what's really interesting is that in 1989, when he was tabbed by the Bush W. Bush of the senior to come in as a legal advisor. He's the one that wrote the legal opinions to invade Panama, to arrest Noriega, to get the FBI to go to foreign land without the host country's consent. And those opinions were so controversial that the Congress requested his opinions. And you know what he did? He gave them a summary. And
I think I've seen that movie.
Yeah,
before.
and they subpoenaed him, but then he departed, and then he gave the full opinion, and they were like, "You omitted substantial details." So this is part of his playbook. He's been doing this, and also the Trump administration has been begging Barr to represent him for the Mueller probe since spring 2017. Yeah. So this guy is not impartial. This guy is a big advocate of the unitary executive policy, and he's been doing this over and over again for decades. So either he's possibly one of their own, if they find him out and have a process around him, maybe other folks also have to undergo a similar process. Cheney, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, and they don't want to do that. I mean, Emma Vigeland from the Young Turks broke a story today of Biden with overflowing praise for Dick Cheney. So you should check that out on Facebook.com/RebelHQ. So
in Biden's defense, off stage, Dick Cheney had a shotgun. So
that's the problem with Biden. He doesn't need a shotgun. He loves reaching out to the most loathsome Republicans. He thinks that's a cool bipartisan thing to do. Okay, back to this. By the way, to be fair to Biden, he said that they should take action against Barr. Barr should resign, as almost all the presidential candidates did. Bernie Sanders not calling for impeachment. I continue to disagree with him on that in regards to Trump as well. Elizabeth Warren, on the other hand, let's go to graphic 38, wrote about Barr. AG Barr is a disgrace, and his alarming efforts to suppress the Mueller report show that he's not a credible head of federal law enforcement. He should resign, and based on the actual facts of the Mueller report, Congress should begin impeachment proceedings against the president.
She is coming out swinging.
Yeah, so she is fighting the hardest, I would say, for impeachment of Trump.
And has been for a few days as she's moved up in the polling.
That's right, over a week now. And Marianne Williams, although, had my favorite tweet. So I just love the way that it ended. She said, words spoken today by William Barr stoop beneath the level of any lawyer, much less the Attorney General. He said if the president feels he's being falsely accused, he should be able to shut down an investigation into his conduct. Wouldn't that be true of 90% of criminal defendants? #Beyond. I love that you wrote #Beyond.
And we actually talked about impeachment when she was interviewed on the Damage Report yesterday, which is now available online. You can go watch that.
That's right. And so Barr was, of course, summoned to not only testify in front of the Senate, but also in front of the House. And he has decided not to show up. Now, the Democrats said, we want to also be able to have our staff attorneys question you about the law. He said, nope, you're not allowed to do that. I will talk to the Congress people, but I will not talk to their attorneys. Now, I was asking around, hey, what's the normal policy and precedent here? And Brett Ehrlich and John pointed out, you remember the Republicans brought in an attorney to question Christine Blasey Ford. In fact, they handed off all of their questions to on Christine Blasey Ford to an outside attorney, not even legal staff. So for the Republicans then to turn around and go, I can't believe the Democrats would want to use an attorney to question the Attorney General. A little disingenuous. So 2 reasons why Barr might be in trouble, and that it was the attorney right there that questioned Ford. First of all, Congress and the House has asked them, subpoenaed the full Mueller report, the unredacted version, and he is not cooperating. If he does not cooperate within a couple of days, he might be in contempt of court. So that is legal problem number 1. But the much bigger legal problem, and the one that Nancy Pelosi and all the presidential candidates are referring to, is he came in front of Congress earlier and said that Mueller's and his team had not raised any concerns about his summary. And now we found out that before that testimony, Mueller had written a very clear letter saying, we are expressing concerns about your summary. So it's a very clear lie. That is perjury, that is a crime, and yes, it should have consequences.
And he did it before.
And he has done it before.
Yeah.
On the go? Don't worry, we got you covered. You can still listen to TYT at our new podcast network. Find us on Apple Podcasts, the Google Play Store, or at tyt.com/podcast.